Hi, as the Year 4 are learning about the Romans, I thought I'd share for you a snippet of a story called The Roman Diary, the Journal of Iliona. It's a young slave. I'm going to share with you, first of all, the blurb. Okay, so this story is by an author called Richard Platt. And it says, when Iliona was captured by pirates and sold as a slave to a Roman family, her world changed forever. Read her journal and discover how people lived nearly 2,000 years ago. Enjoy lavish feasts and processions, visit Roman baths and see gladiators fight, and find out how it felt to be the centre of the most powerful empire on earth. I'm going to share with you the first part of the chapter, and then if anybody would like to carry on reading, feel free to come and see me in Year 4 if you'd like to borrow my copy, or if you're listening from another campus, you can maybe see if you've got it in Year 4 yourselves. This is the journal of me, Iliona, a new diary for my new life in Egypt, Year 3 of the 221st Olympiad. My thoughts run faster than my pen can write, for today I learned that our lives are about to change. We have to sail to Egypt on a galley that leaves the day after tomorrow. We must make this sudden journey because my father has learned that a warehouse he owns in Egypt has burnt to the ground. He must travel there immediately to see it rebuilt. My mother, my brother Apollo, and I will all travel with him and make our home in Alexandria for at least 2 years. It's a thrilling and wonderful idea, for I have never ever left our Greek island before. We have a fine big house here, but in Egypt we'll have an even bigger one. Everything else will be different too. This is the truth, and is why I begun a diary. So I might write it all down, what we do each day, and record everything while it's new and keep it fresh. To help in this project, my mother gave me a writing set, a bundle of fine goose quills tied with purple ribbon, a knife to sharpen them, travelling ink pot, and a roll of the finest papyrus. Its surface is as smooth as the skin on Apollo's back. In just 2 days, we shall board the ship in the harbour here and set sail across the warm Aegean Sea. I think I should like to stand at the front, let my hair down, and feel the salt wind comb my hair. In a little more than a week, we shall be in Alexandria. I cannot wait for this adventure to begin. The first day of our voyage. The morning before dawn, we came aboard our ship. As the sun rose, the crew put out their oars and began to beat a splashing tune on the water. From land, I've often watched boats leaving the harbour. They seem to glide gracefully over the blue sea. From the deck, the view is different. 100 men or more must strain muscles to push the boat forwards. This morning, though, the crew didn't labour for long. The wind blew from the land, and once the sail was raised, they could rest. As I stood at the front of the ship with Apollo to let the wind comb my hair as I dreamed of, instead it teased into a knotted mass, which took me an hour to untangle. On the 5th day, pity us! Apollo and I have lost everything we loved and cherished. Now we are orphans and slaves, to be bought and sold like goats. We were but half a day from Rhodes when a sail appeared behind us. From the shape of the ship and the way it cut through the water, the crew could tell that it was a pirate craft. Our mariners rushed to their oars, but through the strain they pulled, the dark outline grew even bigger behind us. In the battle that followed, my mother drowned and my father was run through with a pirate's sword. My tears flowed, but I could do nothing. The pirates were not interested in the ship's cargo of wine, only in taking slaves, which they called self-loading cargo. They took from Apollo and me all we possessed, except my ink, pens, and papyrus. They let me keep them because I guessed I would fetch a better price if I'd learned my letters. Our journey to Egypt was an end. Now we've begun another journey to the very centre of the world, Rome. My 3rd day in Rome. We reached this strange and enormous city 2 days ago. Not directly, but by hopping like frogs, for we were bought and sold 3 times on the way. At each auction, Apollo and I clung to each other in case we should be sold apart. But praise be to Zeus, it had not happened, and the other children had joined our miserable band. At each auction, our prices rise, though mine more than Apollo's, for I can speak fluent Latin and read a few words, but he struggles to write even in Greek. Finally, we came to the port of Ostia in a sinking barge, which must have been carried rotten fish before us. We were herded quickly through the streets to some dark, cramped lodgings. We had food to eat, bread, oil, and olives. But we were all in a filthy room from our long journey. Creatures moved in my hair, my clothes were like rags, and my eyes were red from crying. Today, 2 women came to the room in which we were locked with other children. They took us out and gave us water and oil to wash. They then cleaned our hair with a fine tooth comb and removed the lice and gave us new garments to wear. I couldn't help but enjoy this until one of my companions snapped, "Idiot! Can't you see they're preparing us for sail again?" My 4th day. The woman returned this morning. They hung wooden signs around each of our necks. I was quite pleased that I could read the Latin words on mine. Greek maiden. They also dusted our feet with chalk. This, I learned, was to show that there was a newly taken as slaves and likely to be a troublesome buy. "Greeks for sale!" the traders shouted as they pushed Apollo and I onto the little platform so that everyone in the crowd could see us clearly. When the bidding began, it was brisk, and we were sold to a tall man who bought no other slaves in the sale. As he pressed through the crowds towards us, I was relieved that Apollo and I had been bought in a single lot, but anxious about what was going to become of us. I asked the man where he was going. He cocked his head and raised his eyebrow as if he couldn't have been more surprised to hear a dog speak Latin. "You're the property of Gaius Marcius," he replied. "He's a senator and I'm the overseer. You'll work in his domus here in Rome." He turned to Apollo's right hand over to look at the palm. "Judging by the smoothness of his hands," he said, "your brother's never done a stroke of work, but he'll be useful on my master's farm in the hills." Then he pushed us up forward into the square. "Come on, shake off the chalk from your feet." If you'd like to find out what happens and continues and how the children survive their life in Rome and what adventures they get up to, please come and see me if you'd like to borrow the rest of the book. It would be a pleasure to pass it on and share it out. I'm sure you'll enjoy it.